The story begins with a group of hunters facing off against giant monsters when they are saved by an S-rank hunter group that easily destroys the enemy. However, a group of humongous albino ants shows up, but instead of getting scared, the S-rank group pushes themselves to the limits. The huge fight can be seen from the city, where another guy named Choi has his hands full with the ants that have infested the city. He flames all the red ants, and a group of hunters set out to fight the albino ants. 10 years ago, portals transporting monsters to Earth opened, and only people with special magical powers, called the hunters, could fight them off. They are ranked from S being the highest and E being the lowest. However, the issue is that once the magical power of a hunter awakens, they can't get any stronger no matter how much they try. Years later, a construction site has turned into a dungeon raid spot, and a man named Park comes to fight monsters for some quick cash. Another boy named Jinwoo is part of the team, but he is labeled as the weakest hunter ever, who even gets injured in E-rank dungeons. Song Chi-yu is leading the group, and Jinwoo enters the dungeon with a small knife, as that is the only weapon he can afford. On the other side, the president of the Hunters Association explains that there might be a few dungeon breaks, but orders to get more items from dungeons as the association earns by selling crystals called magic gems that are obtained by defeating monsters. Jinwoo manages to get a small magic gem, but is unable to defend himself against a goblin and watches the team do all the fighting. It is revealed that the magic gems obtained from high-ranking dungeons can be used to make effective weapons, but the government wants to use the crystals for energy generation. Meanwhile, the team celebrates after defeating the dungeon boss, but they are disappointed as they didn't find many things worth selling. Eventually, they come across another cave in the dungeon, and 6 people vote to go inside, while 6 vote to not risk their lives. Being in extreme financial need, Jinwoo votes to go inside the dungeon. Back in the city, Choi is recruiting hunters, testing their magical powers, and the selected ones are advised to always be cautious. Jinwoo's team throws caution out of the window and enters a mysterious room with huge statues. A statue moves and slices a team member who is trying to escape the room, and Jinwoo thinks of how even the easiest monsters are a threat to him, and he has no chance against such huge statues. The largest statue shoots out a laser beam, shocking everyone, and Chi-yu orders them to stay put, or the statue will attack again. He explains that he saw engraved writings saying they must obey God, or they will be punished. Another man tries to escape with his speed skills, but the statue disintegrates him in a second. Jinwoo quickly realizes something and tells them all to bow down, but the statue smiles creepily in return. Park thinks they've been forgiven, and a guy starts praising the statue, but the statue stands up and walks all over him. Park, trying to escape, is sliced by another statue. After examining the room, he orders everyone surviving to run to the statues with instruments, who start playing a tune when a person stands in front of them. Jinwoo gets his leg crushed under the statue's feet, but manages to reach the last statue with an instrument, causing the main statue to sit back in his seat. Jinwoo tells them the third commandment is to prove their loyalty to God by making a sacrifice, and the men tell their leader to take responsibility, who steps forward, which lights up a single flame. Jinwoo asks others to take him in the circle, and it lights up more flames. Not knowing what to do next, Jinwoo fears they won't be able to defeat this god, and he might barge into their real world. The statues start to move, and Jinwoo realizes if they keep their eyes on them, they won't move. But because the door has opened, 2 members escape. As the third one tries, Jinwoo tells him it's most likely a trap, and if he goes, they won't have enough eyes to watch the statues, and everyone will get killed. Chi-yu realizes that 2 more people can escape, because as long as one person stays at the altar, the door won't close. Jinwoo, however, tells Chi-yu to carry Juhi, their healer, and run out, as she has spent all her energy healing Jinwoo. After they leave, the statues attack him, and Jinwoo is enraged as he thinks of how selfish people always survive. He has a family to look after too. He is thrown on the altar, and just before the final blow, all flames go out, and a mysterious notification pops up. The notification tells him to become a player or die, and Jinwoo quickly clicks on the yes button. At that exact moment, Jinwoo wakes up in a hospital with his body recovered. Two men, named Woo and Kang, come from the association and explain to him that 6 out of 13 survived the double dungeon, but will not continue being hunters after the traumatizing event. Another guild rushed to save them after getting informed by the statues, but found nothing. Woo brings out a meter to test if Jinwoo's powers have increased, but they realize that he has a score of 10, which puts him in civilian territory. Jinwoo's sister comes in, and he asks her if she can see the notification box, but she only calls him crazy. Jinwoo accepts his daily quest, which is a set of exercises, and despite the notification informing him of a penalty, he says he has no energy for such things. On the other side, Choi appoints Chahi, a very famous S-rank hunter, to supervise the B-rank hunters and teach them. Jinwoo is sleeping when he gets the notification of a penalty, and he is transported to the middle of a desert where he must run from a monster caterpillar for 4 hours. He returns to the hospital and completes his daily quests for the next 4 days, and after his tasks, he gets 3 types of rewards: recovery, ability, and random loot power. One day, in the loot box, he gets a key and the location of an instant dungeon. Upon getting inside, Jinwoo realizes the only way to get out is by defeating the boss or using a teleportation stone. Jinwoo comes across goblins, who he fears at first but eventually eliminates. Jinwoo is then attacked by a far stronger monster and tries to dodge it as he has no weapons, but suddenly remembers he has an inventory option on the screen and uses a sword from it to eliminate the monster. He is attacked by 2 more monsters, but he manages to win and notices that his level increased to 2. He is attacked by a pack of wolves, and he slices them easily and gets 40 boost points. He checks his inventory and finds a teleportation stone, but decides to get stronger by defeating more monsters. Jinwoo knows he is not strong enough, but wants to test his powers and finds a huge serpent. Jinwoo realizes this is the boss and gets tossed around before realizing that only the strong are respected. Jinwoo uses his bare hands to break the scales of the serpent and kills him. He gets many notifications informing him of his multiple level ups and a new sword made of the serpent's fangs. The place turns into a train station, and Jinwoo steps out to find the place destroyed, as a soldier tells him a huge monster is still walking on the streets. He goes there to find a group of hunters struggling to defeat the monster. Jinwoo realizes the monster is nothing but just a huge piece of armor and throws his broken sword with such strength that it breaks the shield, making it easier for the hunters to eliminate the monster. A few days pass, and Jinwoo now has a great physique, and all the nurses thirst over him. Even his sister notices that he has grown taller and stronger, and Jinwoo jokes that he might become a massive bodybuilder if he continues his daily workouts. He is now on level 18 and notices an intellect stat, which he thinks must be related to magical powers, and dumps all his points into the strength stat, as that is his main focus. He gets a call from the landlord demanding rent, and Jinwoo thinks of raiding dungeons, but realizes that there is very little money in E-rank dungeons. He considers leveling up, but realizes that he might be considered suspicious, as second awakenings are possible, but no hunter has ever continued to grow stronger and stronger. Jinwoo comes across a job listing and rushes to the site to find a man named Hung, who explains that his team is heading into a C-ranked dungeon, but needs 1 more person. Hung tells Jinwoo that he won't have to fight and won't get rewards, but they will pay him money for joining. A 20-year-old hunter named Leo is also on the team, and it is clear that he comes from a rich family. Before they can enter the dungeon, they notice that the gate is huge and wonder if they will be able to tackle the monsters. Jinwoo tells them that dungeons are ranked on the magical power they emit rather than size, so they don't have to worry about it. On their way inside, he explains all types of stones to Leo, but quickly stops and tells them that a beast is nearby. The group attacks the ants, and Jinwoo notices that they have perfect teamwork. Despite Leo not having any special powers, his well-made gear makes kills easy for him. Hung thanks Jinwoo for telling them the direction of the monsters, and everyone except Jinwoo divides the loot. They notice that a few ants have been torn to shreds and fear that larger monsters must be around. On the other side, a group is training and hears a very loud sound. It turns out that S-rank hunter Bayek is working out. He punches the wall and causes a massive hole in it. Back in the dungeon, they find precious monocrystals, and Leo explains that monocrystals aren't killing rewards, so they will split the monocrystals with him as well. Hung reminds them that they have to haul these crystals before they beat the ultimate boss, so the dungeon doesn't close. They see a spider snoozing near the crystals, and Hung tells them not to worry, as it won't wake up unless they wake it up. Jinwoo and Leo are still in the dungeon with the sleeping spider when Hung orders one of his members to close the opening. Jinwoo remembers how Chi-Yu once warned him of people who kill their teammates. The group leader explains that he wants the spider to eat them and then go back to sleep. This would give them time to go back in and steal the crystals, as he has figured out a secret pathway they can use to get inside the cave with crystals. And if they can't get the crystals, they will steal Leo's gear, which is worth a fortune. On the other side, Jinwoo summons his weapons and tells Leo to step back. Leo refuses and tells Jinwoo that they can't win against the spider, so they should try escaping, but Jinwoo is confident and begins the fight. Leo notices Jinwoo's swift movements and wonders if Jinwoo is a false ranker, people who purposely get a lower rank as they get a kick out of being the only one on their team who can kill. False rankers are usually psychopaths, and this freaks out Leo. Jinwoo also realizes that the spider is too strong, and if he gets hit even once, it might be the end of him. The spider uses an acid attack on him, and Jinwoo uses a new skill called Dash to speed towards the spider, but his dagger is unable to pierce the spider. Jinwoo tries harder and harder, but his fatigue level begins to hit, and he gets injured. He is about to be smashed when he uses his recovery reward and fully recovers. Leo thinks this is Jinwoo's end, but Jinwoo dashes and stabs the eye of the spider repeatedly until the spider dies. A notification pops up informing him that he has successfully eliminated the dungeon boss, and Jinwoo takes the magic gem of the spider. Leo offers to carry the supplies as he has started to admire Jinwoo. Leo starts digging up the crystals, and Hung and his crew show up on the scene. However, instead of feeling scared, they mock the spider for being so weak that it lost to losers. He tells Leo to murder Jinwoo and join their team, or they both will be killed. Hung explains that they usually murder anyone they recruit on their team so they don't have to share the fortune. When Leo refuses, Jinwoo gets a notification telling him to murder the 6 enemies in front of him. One of the members, named Mage, attacks Jinwoo, who gets badly injured. Jinwoo gets angry and realizes that the game might be using him for some purpose, but he also admits that it is making him strong. He tells them not to complain when they're the ones who get murdered just because they are weak, and the group starts mocking him. Jinwoo quickly slices the neck of one of them, and this causes the remaining 5 to launch their best attacks on Jinwoo, who easily dodges them and murders everyone in his way. Hung powers up all of his muscles and tells Jinwoo he must be tired after fighting the dungeon boss and 5 hunters, but Jinwoo just uses his speed and crushes Hung's face into the ground. Hung, realizing Jinwoo's power, quickly tries to bribe him with double the amount of cash, but Jinwoo refuses. Hung tries to threaten him again, but Jinwoo just slices his neck off. The dungeon begins to crumble, as it has been long since the dungeon boss was killed, and they quickly make their way out of it. The officer is shocked that C-ranked hunters died, but low-ranked hunters survived, eventually thinking that Jinwoo just hid somewhere, while Leo's gear gave him a massive advantage. Jinwoo is shocked that he is getting rewarded for murder in a notification that gives him the special ability to lower the power of an enemy by 50%. The news of the death of 6 hunters reaches the association, where Woo notices that Jinwoo is one of the survivors. Jinwoo goes home to tell his sister that he will be covering the bills for a while. He later thinks about how he murdered actual human beings, but then reminds himself that it was in self-defense. And if he had to do it again, he would. A few days later, Leo meets Jinwoo and explains that he wants to make a team with him for just 19 more raids, as having 20 raids will make him a guildmaster. Jinwoo initially refuses, but when Leo says that he will give him a good reward, Jinwoo, unaware of the power he might have after leveling up, still refuses. Meanwhile, Hung's younger brother, Dongsu, is angry about his brother's death and hopes to take revenge. The next day, Jinwoo hits his daily goals and wonders what would happen if he did double the required exercise. He opens the loot box he gets as a reward and finds the key to an S-rank dungeon where he can find the Elixir of Life, a potion that can cure all illnesses. He wishes to acquire it for his mother, suffering from an incurable disease. Jinwoo heads into the dungeon and everything is on fire. He has a teleportation stone as a backup. He comes across a three-headed monster called Cerberus, which is far stronger than him, as it not only avoids all his attacks, but bites Jinwoo's arm, causing him to scream in pain. He uses his recovery reward and thinks that he might do damage to the monster, but he is wrong, as Cerberus levels up and unleashes its true power. He decides to use the teleportation stone, but Cerberus attacks him, causing the stone to slip out of his hands. After a brutal fight, Jinwoo manages to kill Cerberus and gets a notification informing him that he has acquired the key to the demon's castle. Another notification gives him the recipe for the elixir, and Jinwoo starts finding the ingredients. Jinwoo realizes that with his current strength, he isn't ready for the demon's castle, so he comes back to the real world. To level up, Jinwoo takes up Leo's offer and tells him to hire people on quota, as it will be more impressive to Leo's father if he thinks only the two of them were able to defeat so many dungeon bosses. Leo's father tells him that the world hasn't functioned properly since the gates opened, as the most valuable things are extracted from dungeons, but the Hunters Association keeps a strict check on the loots. He explains that the top 5 guilds of the country make immense profits from their loot. Jinwoo doesn't know how to level up quickly without getting in trouble, and gets a message asking him to join a D-rank raid with a full group. Chuyi, Juhi, and Kim also get the same notification. On the other side, Choi tells S-rank fighter Bayek that a famous company is starting its guild and wants him to join. Chahi, another S-rank hunter, explains to Choi that she was contacted, but she refused. Choi had told Bayek that the company aims to clean the Jojo Island soon, as it was the place where Bayek lost most of his friends. Jinwoo reaches the gate and is surprised to see that all the members are survivors of the temple. Just then, 3 prisoners show up, and the association explains they had no other choice, but the prisoners won't bother them, as behaving well will reduce their sentences. Kong is also joining them, so that in case anything goes wrong, he can handle the criminals easily. They choose Chi-Yu as their leader, and he thanks them for it. Inside the dungeon, they split into 3 groups, and Kong tells the prisoners he will wipe them out, as the father of the girl they assaulted offered him money for their murders. Just as he is murdering the 3rd prisoner, Kim and another man come on the scene, and Kong starts walking towards them. Upon hearing screams, Jinwoo, Juhi, and Chi-Yu quickly rush there to find 4 people dead and Kim badly injured. Kim apologizes before succumbing to his death. Chi-Yu realizes that Kim was murdered by a sharp blade, and Kong suddenly jumps to murder Juhi, but Jinwoo intervenes. Chi-Yu gets into a brutal fight with Kong, and Jinwoo steps in when Chi-Yu gets injured. Kong says he plans to tell the association that the prisoners murdered all the others, so he has no option but to kill the prisoners. Kong admits that he enjoys killing people more than he enjoys killing beasts. Kong uses his invisible technique and injures Jinwoo's leg, but Jinwoo quickly heals himself and activates his murderous intent skill, easily murdering Kong. Kong tells Jinwoo that if he keeps on seeking more and more power, the power will eventually take control of him. The association is shocked to see that Kong is a killing machine, and is equally surprised that Jinwoo is on the mission as well. Wu asks who killed Kong, and Jinwoo knows he can no longer keep the secret, but Chi-Yu quickly lies, saying he was the one who murdered Kong with Juhi's help. Wu warns Jinwoo that he is already on the wanted list by Dongsu, who is an S-rank hunter, and suggests that Jinwoo leave the country. Jinwoo starts raids with Leo by making the other members of the group stay outside the gate and paying them to keep quiet about it. They come out after a short while, and the hunters can't believe they closed the gate this quickly. They do 3 raids every day, and Jinwoo gets stronger as the days pass. He invests in his intellect abilities and wonders if he is ready to head back into the demon's castle. Meanwhile, the manager of a guild named Anne learns about Jinwoo's raids and finds it interesting. Anne believes Jinwoo has had a reawakening and heads to the raid site, shocked to see all other members standing outside the portal. Later, he tells Jinwoo he will pay double whatever the company is paying him if he joins their guild. Jinwoo quickly threatens him so he doesn't reveal his power to others, and Anne promises not to interfere in his journey. Jinwoo gets a notification that he has a job change quest and heads on a road trip to find out about it. A dungeon opens, and once inside, he realizes that he can't use potions or leave until the quest is over. Jinwoo starts fighting the monsters and realizes that the monsters have the strengths of his past opponents. He beats them and levels up before going deeper into the dungeon. He steps into a room and feels the same pressure and fear he felt when he was in the first double dungeon. This monster quickly overpowers Jinwoo, and he has no time to keep up. Jinwoo accepts that the only way to beat this monster, named Igris, is by hand, so he drops his sword. Igris does the same, but is far stronger and throws Jinwoo around. But the fight isn't over, as Jinwoo uses his full power and eventually eliminates Igris. Jinwoo gets 4 amazing rewards, but the notification says his main side quest starts now as portals open and an army of enemies begins to emerge. On the other side, Choi and a group of well-ranked hunters head out on their mission to Jojo Island. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo, without any fear, lunges forward to deal with the enemies. The quest has a timer, and Jinwoo's goal is to survive for as long as possible. Jinwoo uses his invisible technique to delay the time, but his facade is broken by a mage. Jinwoo realizes that he can't use many tricks, and only 5 minutes have passed. He accepts his fate and decides to use the teleportation stone. But before he can do it, a monster knocks it out of his hands, leaving him no other option but to fight. After a while, the monsters take the voices of other hunters and mock Jinwoo for being the weakest hunter ever. This triggers him to react, but his mind manifests Juhi and Chiyo, who tell him to take it easy. A monster smashes Jinwoo's head on the floor, and old Jinwoo claims that the arrogance in thinking he was prepared for the world will lead him to his downfall. Just as he is about to get hit with the final blow, he is transported to the desert for not completing his daily task. Jinwoo now wonders if the system wants to keep him alive. He beats several centipedes and levels up multiple times. He buys a weapon for armored-type monsters. He uses the stone he got from winning against Igris and unlocks the ruler's hand ability that causes him to manipulate objects without touching them, but is unable to do so with very large objects. Jinwoo is summoned back and starts fighting the monsters, but quickly realizes they are far more in number than he can beat. He finds out that 6 mages are summoning them from the portals and starts eliminating them. The last 3 gather in a circle and merge smaller monsters into a larger one. He eliminates the last 3 wizards and finally defeats the large monster. A notification announces his next task is to become a necromancer, a type of wizard that can summon the dead. Jinwoo notices he improved his strength and didn't focus on intellect, but strength has no power when it comes to necromancers. A notification pops up asking him if he wants to accept the offer, and Jinwoo decides to do it. He gains the shadow extraction ability and chooses Rise as his command word, which causes all shadows to summon. He can summon them whenever he wants, and the shadows will have the same power as the owner they are extracted from. Jinwoo extracts Igris's shadow after telling him to serve him as his old king would never return. Jinwoo feels euphoric knowing he has a new army under his command as all the shadows kneel before him.